everyone. Before we begin, we want to remind you that we'll be taking questions and answering them after the broadcast today. So don't forget to send those to grte_education@nps.gov. And if you have any photos of your class tuning in too, we would love to see them.
Awesome, thank you so much. Well, welcome everyone to this edition of Snow Desk, the show from the snow in Grand Teton National Park. I'm Ranger Erin.
And I'm Ranger Maddie.
And we're coming to you live from the town of Moose in Grand Teton National Park, located in the northwest corner of the state of Wyoming. I wonder if anyone out here watching has visited us before.
Yeah, I'm curious. Or what time of year they visited us.
I know, probably not so much in the winter. And so in just a second, you're going to see a map with a red star on it. That red star is where Grand Teton National Park is located. And we want you guys to compare where you guys are coming from today, wherever in the world you are.
Great, thank you. And it's pretty wintry out here today. You've connected with us as we sit behind a desk made of 3 feet of snow. This year we got lucky. There was enough snow that all we had to do was kind of pile it up and carve it out. But in some years we don't have enough snow, so we kind of have to seek it out and pile it up. It's also pretty cold out. It's probably, what, 7 or 8 degrees right now?
Yeah, probably around that.
But it's been much colder the last week or so, in the negative 18s and 20s, so this feels warm. And we have lots of snow, as you can see. We're looking at about 220 inches in the mountains. And we think more is coming this weekend. Hopefully a few more feet.
It'll be some nice skiing.
I wonder what everybody's weather is like across the country or the world.
Ooh, I know, I'm sure, our friends down in Everglades might have a little bit warmer weather than us right now. Awesome. So we know Grand Teton National Park is one of many special places in the United States that have been set aside to be protected for future generations. These sites like Grand Canyon National Park, Independence National Historic Park, Acadia National Park, and Denali National Park have been set aside because they tell the stories of how humans and wildlife are important to people all over the world. We know Grand Teton has been a special place for many people, including local Native American tribes, for thousands of years. There are lots of amazing places for you to visit and learn from. But until then, we're glad that you get to visit us virtually at Grand Teton National Park today.
We sure are. So Grand Teton National Park was established to protect these beautiful mountains, pristine waterways, and a variety of wildlife. This place is incredibly wild, in part because of the extreme seasons we have. For example, we're coming to you in the middle of a very long winter. Yeah. I'm curious if they can guess how long our winter lasts here. If you guess 6 to 8 months, then you're correct. Yeah. It's very long. It's more than half the year. And during that time, we get a lot of snow. We typically see about 30 feet or 400 inches, which is the height of a 3-story building. As I mentioned earlier, we have about 220 inches in the mountains, and we're still expecting more. Believe it or not, though, it's not snowy like this all of the time. This snow will eventually melt. It'll end up in our waterways, like our rivers and lakes, which is what we're excited to talk about today. We're going to explore the role of water here in Grand Teton National Park, but also back in your hometown.
Yeah. We know water, also known as H2O, can exist in 3 different ways, as solid, liquid, and gas. And we're lucky because we have all 3 states of water here in Grand Teton National Park. And we'll actually be doing some hand motions to kind of describe these 3 different states of water. So we have our solid or our frozen water, so you can give yourselves a nice big bear hug. Awesome. We also have our liquid or flowing water, so you can do some noodly arms. Sweet. And of course, we also have our gas or our floating water, and you can kind of turn those wrists around. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you so much.
Okay, so solid water is here all around us at Snow Desk today. We see solid water in the form of snow, permafrost, and ice. We're pretty excited because we do have a field correspondent standing by who would like to tell you about a special form of solid water we have in Grand Teton National Park. Ranger Ann, to you.
Hi there, my name is Ann and I'm a park ranger here at Grand Teton National Park. This weekend I got to ski down my favorite form of frozen water, a glacier. This is one of 11 glaciers we find in the park today. A glacier is a large moving body of ice and snow that takes years and years to form. The weight of the snow and ice creates a lot of pressure and squeezes that ice and snow and makes it move downhill. That's different from regular snow and ice that you might encounter. Glaciers actually flow like a large river of ice. Imagine silly putty. Silly putty is solid, but if you put it on top of a desk, you might see it ooze over the side because gravity is going to pull it down. Just like a glacier. Glaciers are really big. They can be at least as big as your school, if not huge. Glaciers are a really important form of solid water because they can shape mountains, melt into cold, clean water, and serve as habitat for animals. One creature that needs glaciers to survive is the western glacier stonefly. Stoneflies are small insects that live in clear, cold water and lay their eggs in mountain streams. So imagine like water that has recently melted from a glacier. In fact, Grand Teton National Park just discovered a new species of stonefly in a stream formed by the melting water from the Middle Teton Glacier. And that stream is icy all year long. We know that stoneflies are very sensitive to water pollution, so having them here is special. Stoneflies tell us that we live in a healthy ecosystem. Furthermore, stoneflies are an important part of the food chain, and they provide sustenance for animals such as our beautiful rosy finch, and they eat the insects that we find in these cold, snowy habitats. So imagine if we didn't have glaciers, we wouldn't have these cold mountain streams, and we wouldn't have stoneflies, and they wouldn't serve as food for our beautiful rosy finches. So glaciers are a really important part of frozen water that we find here in Grand Teton National Park. They are my favorite form of frozen water, and I hope they're becoming your favorite too. So please think about, a form of frozen water that you might find in where you live. And think about it for a minute, and then turn to your neighbor and share what you thought of. So, welcome from Grand Teton National Park. I will see you guys later. Goodbye.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Ranger Ann. She's such a sweetheart.
She's so great.
I know. But we want you guys to think about the question that she asked. What is your favorite form of solid water wherever you guys are coming from today? You can feel free to share it out with a teacher or with a parent or whoever you're with. Ranger Maddie, what's maybe your favorite form of solid water?
I love the fact that we have glaciers here,
Yeah.
so I think I'm biased to that. It's pretty incredible. What about you?
Ooh, I don't know, but I love to ski. I love to cross-country ski and downhill ski, and so I do love snow.
That's a great one too.
All right. And so we know that was, one of our states of matter, which was our solid or frozen water. But another one is our liquid or flowing water. And that happens when it gets warm enough for solid water to melt into liquid. Liquid water is the most common form of water we have here on Earth. It's what we drink, cook with, wash with, and of course play in as well. We know liquid water can be dew, rain, rivers, lakes, and so on. And we actually have another field correspondent standing by who's broadcasting from the Snake River today. Hey, Ranger Clay, can you hear us?
Hi there, my name is Clay Hanna and I'm one of the rangers here in Grand Teton National Park. And I'm really excited to share with you one of my favorite forms of liquid water here in Grand Teton, and that's the rivers. Now I'm coming to you live from the Snake River, one of the largest rivers in the western United States. Now we're fortunate here in Grand Teton that the headwaters or the start of the Snake River is just to our north. And that river flows through Grand Teton, through Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and eventually all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Now, that's pretty amazing to think about, that this water here eventually makes its way all the way to the Pacific Ocean. You know, I've always thought how long that might take. I wonder who I should ask. Maybe I'll just ask the river. River, how long does it take you to get to the Pacific Ocean? Wow. Well said. Well said. Now, surprisingly, the river does not always look like this. When do you think the river flows the fastest? What time of year? Now, if you said the spring or the summer, you're absolutely correct. Because during that period, all of this frozen water, this snow that we see, is going to start to melt. And as that turns from frozen water to liquid water, it's going to have to flow somewhere. And eventually it makes its way down to the Snake River. But in the winter, this time of the year, it can actually get cold enough at night that the river can completely freeze over, which is pretty amazing. Now, no matter what the river looks like, what the water looks like, whether it's frozen or liquid, creatures here in Grand Teton National Park, they depend on the Snake River in order to survive. Creatures like bald eagles, cutthroat trout, moose, beaver, and one of my favorite animals found here in the park, the river otters. Now, river otters are a member of the weasel family, and they've often been described as adorable, playful, and just all-around fun. Now, river otters are carnivores, and they'll spend most of their time in and around the water, but they can also be found on the banks of the Snake River. They usually travel in family groups, and they can be seen wrestling on the banks or in the water. And even this time of the year, when there's snow on the banks, they'll make slides that go down into the Snake River, which is really fun. Now, river otters are very sensitive to pollution, which is important for us here in Grand Teton because that allows us to measure the health of the river and the ecosystem. Now, I want you to imagine this pristine river behind me. Imagine if the Snake River were polluted and how that would change the game. Well, it might mean that we don't have river otters, which could change the food web and completely change the ecosystem. So that's just one example of how rivers are an important source of liquid water. Now, I want you to take a moment, and I want you to think about where you live and all the different sources of liquid water that can be found there. And in just a moment, I'm going to have you turn to a neighbor and just describe to that neighbor what your favorite form of liquid water is. But before we do that, I'm going to send it back to the snow desk.
Thanks, Ranger Clay. Aaron, wasn't it so cool how they interviewed the river?
I'm so jealous right now.
I wonder what stories the river would tell.
Oh my gosh, just endless amounts.
I'm curious what everyone's favorite form of liquid water is out there. Tell a friend or a neighbor near you. I think mine is probably rivers and lakes because I love fishing.
Yes.
And you can't really do that when it's frozen. I guess you can, but it's not as fun.
Yeah,
What about
for
you?
Sure, not as fun. I would say probably pretty similar. I love to go swimming. And so we have over 100 alpine lakes here. And yeah, I love to swim across a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay, so the last state you can find water in is gas or floating water. And sometimes you can't even see it. I wonder if any of our viewers out there were able to see their breath today. I think I can see mine right now, which means it's pretty cold. And that's an example of water vapor or gas. We find water vapor when water heats up. And here in Grand Teton National Park, we have a pretty special example of naturally warm water that produces steam. Ranger Megan is standing by. Megan, are you there?
Hi, I'm Ranger Megan. I'm coming to you from Kelly Warm Spring here in Grand Teton National Park. And my favorite form of water is steam, or water in the form of gas, because it's sneaky and you never know where you're going to find it. In fact, sometimes it's invisible. You can see it a little bit here today. If it looks a little foggy behind me, that's because I'm standing next to a warm spring. It's about 80 degrees year-round, so a little cooler than your average hot tub. And there's a pocket of magma underneath us that's keeping that steam, that water warm and pushing it out into the warm spring for us. Now, there are other animals in the ecosystem that'll take advantage of the steam here. Bison need to bulldoze through that snow with their big head, like a snowplow, to get down to the grasses, the sedges, the forbs. They're herbivores, so they need that stuff. Now, if they were over at Snow Desk, they'd be digging through snow chest high on me. But I just measured the snow over there, and here at Kelly Warm Springs, it's only about 6 inches of snow. So a lot less work for them to get to that lunch, and they're 2,000-pound animals. They need a lot of lunch. So when you come out here, you might find bison wandering around and taking advantage of the warm steam in this area. They're an important part of our ecosystem. Without them, our food chain wouldn't be complete here. So we're really happy about that. They're also really important because this is one of the only places in the world that you can find free-roaming bison. Now, that's just one reason why I like steam and water vapor. I want you to think about your home for a second and think about all the places that you might find steam and water vapor. You might have to imagine for a second because it's probably invisible. Once you've thought of it, I want you to turn to your neighbor and share your favorite form of water vapor back home. Snow Desk, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ranger Megan. She's such a hoot sometimes. All right. But let's think about what Ranger Megan asked. What is your favorite form of gaseous or floating water where you are at right now? Hey, Ranger Maddie, what's one of your favorite forms?
I mean, I would love to have a hot tub back here that
my
produces
gosh.
that steam. Imagine like hot tub snow desk.
Oh my gosh, hot tub snow desk, that would be incredible. We could do snow desk in any type of weather then.
What about you?
Ooh, I would say, one of my favorite forms is maybe when I'm heating up water or heating up water for tea or hot chocolate, or if I'm making pasta, because it usually smells really good and I know I'm about to have a really nice warm meal or a nice cup of tea too.
Nice.
Awesome, sweet. And so hopefully you're still sharing out some of those answers with whoever you are with today. But we know H2O exists in three different ways. And it travels in 3 different ways through the water cycle. While many people travel to Grand Teton as a vacation destination, water in Grand Teton goes on a trip even more spectacular. It travels through the water cycle, so come along for the journey.
No need for cars or the straps of your guitar. Water moves about the Tetons with ease. It's simple, can't you see? The water cycle, 1, 2, 3. Follow along to the tune of this song. 1, evaporation when the sun comes out. 2, water condenses in the clouds. 3, precipitation when the clouds get mighty heavy and the rain, it all falls down. Then down our cascades, a myriad of waterways brings the rain to our rivers and our streams. Glacial lakes are filled in the way that water will make us jump with joy and glee. 1, evaporation when the sun comes out. 2, water condenses in the cloud. 3, precipitation when the clouds get mighty heavy and the rain, it all falls down. Yeah, the rain, it all falls down.
So catchy.
I can never get that song stuck out of my head. Alrighty, well hopefully you enjoyed that video as much as we did. But you might also be wondering, if water travels by way of evaporation, condensation, and precipitation, where in the world beyond just Grand Teton can we find all this water at any given moment? Where is it being stored?
Is it Jackson Lake?
Ooh, kind of. But let's think about Earth's water systems, all the ways that water is stored and moves around the planet.
What are Earth's water systems?
Ooh, that's a great question. We know water is stored in many different places, and it moves between these places in a continuous cycle, the water cycle. So let's think about some places where you think water might be found naturally here on Earth. We know Jackson Lake is a good example, but that's also a really specific example. So we want you guys to think in broader terms. So instead of just Jackson Lake, you can just think of lakes, or an example where water can be found naturally here on Earth. Can you think of any, Ranger Maddie?
I think I'm going back to rivers.
Yeah, rivers is an awesome one. I would say you actually had mentioned one earlier about our glaciers. We have, quite a number of glaciers up there, and we also have a lot of other national parks that are kind of known for their glaciers, like Glacier National Park and North Cascades.
Okay, so all of these are parts of Earth's water system, which are connected by the water cycle, and they can move between these systems through evaporation, precipitation, freezing, and more. So let's take a look at the numbers to see how much water is stored in each system.
We know groundwaters and aquifers have around 1.69% of Earth's water underground.
And water vapor in the air, or clouds in the atmosphere, make up about 0.001%.
We also know that soil holds a lot of moisture, but that is only 0.001%.
Those lakes that we were talking about earlier, they make up about 0.013%.
And of course, we have our rivers, who are extremely important for many of our ecosystems, but that is only 0.0002% of our Earth's water.
Not a lot. So the water stored in living things like plants and animals makes up about 0.0001%.
And of course, we also have our glaciers and ice and snow, and they store all of that water in solid or frozen form, kind of saving it later like a piggy bank, but that's only 1.76% as well.
Okay, so all that adds up to less than 4%.
Yes, and that means the rest of it is our salty ocean water. Our oceans are around 96.5%, and a percent means out of 100, so now all that adds up to around 100%.
So the ocean water, we can't drink that, can we?
No. So really there's not a lot of accessible fresh water for us to drink here on Earth.
And this is really important because will Earth ever get more water?
We know that water moves and transforms, it cycles, but this is all the water we get forever. In fact, we actually still drink the same water that dinosaurs drank.
You're kidding me.
I wish I wasn't.
What?
Awesome. But, what should we do about this, Ranger Maddie?
Well, I think we should save it. We need to take care of it. We can't afford to waste it. We have to value what we have. And the good news is there are ways that you and I can help make a difference and take care of our water. I'd like to show a really fun example of how you can save water back home. Hey, did you notice how the ranger that let their faucet run wasted like 6 gallons of water?
Wait a second, why 6?
You do brush your teeth twice a day, right? 3 times 2 is 6.
Yes, I do. I do brush my teeth twice a day, yes. Yeah,
Okay, so let's find out how many gallons of water a family of, say, 4 can save every day by turning off their faucet as they're brushing your teeth. I think we're gonna need to do some math and some multiplication for this one. 4 people times 6 gallons is...
I think I got my answer.
Hold on. Okay, I got it.
Should we both say in the count of 3?
1, 2, 3.
24! Yes!
High five.
Awesome! Oh my gosh, we're so good at math. But if you were a family of 4, you could save up to 24 gallons of water in a day. That means in a week, that would be around 168 gallons. And in an entire year, that'd be 8,736 gallons.
Whoa.
That is a lot of water. And just imagine how much your class, your grade, and your community could save if you all saved some water. And so, we also want you guys to continue to think about what are some other ways you can save water besides just turning off the faucet when you're brushing your teeth. Ranger Ronnie, do you have any ideas to share with our friends out there?
I'm thinking about probably using my dishwasher more.
Oh,
I think
that's a
that
good
I could
one.
do better at not like washing my dishes in the sink and letting the water run there so
Yeah.
long. What about you?
Oh, I would say I'm for sure guilty of taking long showers sometimes. So I'd say taking shorter showers is an awesome way.
That's a really good one. Okay, so great. We've been talking a lot about Grand Teton National Park, which has a lot of water depending on the snowpack. But there are other places that are naturally a lot drier, like Death Valley National Park, one of the driest and hottest deserts in the United States. There's places that are receiving more precipitation than they're prepared to deal with, which can cause flooding. And then there's places that aren't receiving enough precipitation and they're experiencing drought, which may cause things like wildfires.
And we know that some of you, or people that you might know, have been affected by all these kinds of climate events. And these changes are real. It's important to talk about them with people that you care about. In just a moment, though, you're going to see an image showing average changes in precipitation over the past 30 years along the western U.S. The blue dots represent more precipitation than usual, while the orange and red dots represent less precipitation. We encourage you to share with your classroom, family, and community on what changes in climate they have noticed over time. And I wonder, how have these changes affected where you live or the people that you care about?
Find out what's happening in your region. If your area is getting drier, it will be important to save water. If your hometown is getting wetter, it will still be important to save water so it can move to other drier areas. It will also be important to keep your water clean. What are some ways you can help keep your water clean? Can you think of any?
I would say, I love to float down our rivers here, but sometimes I also see a lot of trash around, in parking lots right next to the river. And so I usually try and bring a baggie so I can pick up trash when I'm out and about.
That's a great one. Probably picking up, I'm thinking about walking my dog.
Yeah.
Making sure I pick up their waste too, so that doesn't end up in the waterways.
That's an awesome idea as well. I love that one. And so we continue to ask you guys to think about ways that you can protect our waterways, not only here in Grand Teton, but back home as well. And of course, you can probably think of places around the United States and the world where people don't have access to clean drinking water. So we encourage your friends and neighbors, teachers, and family to take care of their water. Teach one person one way to save water, whether it's turning off that faucet when you're brushing your teeth, taking shorter showers, or of course, reusing a reusable water bottle. We know small changes can make big impacts. You can even research where your water comes from as well.
Wow, that sounds like we have a big job ahead, but I think we can handle it. Okay, so let's recap. The Earth only has one supply of water, and that water can exist in 3 different ways: as a solid, a liquid, and gas. And water moves through those three states as it travels through the water cycle through evaporation, condensation, and precipitation.
Awesome. And speaking of traveling, the water we have here in Grand Teton National Park might end up as your drinking water day, and vice versa. Your water might end up here in Grand Teton as forms of glaciers, rivers, or streams. Protecting the water and the park is a pretty big job for us park rangers, and sometimes our hard work is not enough. On the count of three, we actually want you guys to point to someone who you think can best protect our parks. 1, 2, 3, go! Sweet, if you're pointing to friends, family, or teacher, those are all answers, or great answers, but we want you guys to point those thumbs back to yourself because you can also protect our water and our parks. It's up to everyone, including you, your family, your teachers, to help protect these special places.
Yeah, and we challenge you and your teacher or your family members and friends to talk more about national parks near you. Maybe places like Grand Canyon National Park, Acadia National Park, Independence National Historic Place. These are all great places to visit, find more about, become a junior ranger, and really find your park. So in the words of the Lorax, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better, it's not. We hope you care a whole awful lot about Grand Teton National Parks and other special places near you. Thanks for tuning in to this broadcast of Snow Desk.
And just as a reminder, if you do have questions, it looks like we'll have probably around 5 to 10 minutes to answer any questions, as long as you send those to grte@nps.gov. Awesome. Well, that's a great question from Caroline out there, who asked, what is our favorite part of being a ranger here in Grand Teton? Ranger Maddie, you want to take this one first?
Sure, yeah. I think my favorite part about this job is getting to work in beautiful places like this. And also getting to kind of share this place and the experiences with visitors and the public. It's really fun to see them experience it for the first time.
I would agree with you, Maddie. I would say, of course, there's tons of different recreational opportunities out here, especially in the wintertime. There's cross-country skiing, backcountry skiing, downhill skiing. But then in the summer, you can go swimming, you can go boating, you can go fishing and trail running and backpacking. So there's so many things to do here. And of course, I would say one of the most special places about this park are usually, the type of people that I can do all of those activities with. The community here is really awesome too. Ooh, what is our favorite part of the water cycle? Ooh, that's a great question from Mary Kate. My favorite part of the water cycle, I would say probably precipitation. Because whether, it's raining out and I can have some like cozy time and I can knit in my room, or, we know precipitation can also be snow. And so if it's snowing, that means that there might be some pretty good skiing out there.
My mind went to rain, just because I'm not so into skiing and snowboarding. I appreciate it, but I love a good summer rainstorm and thunderstorm. That's like one of the most exciting things I think here.
Awesome. You get to slow down this summer, which is really nice too.
That was a fun question.
That was a fun question. Ooh, what are the animal pelts? Awesome. Okay. So someone asked, what are these animal pelts? And so this one right here is our red fox. And so for most of our pelts, they'll have a tag. I know this tag actually came off a few days ago, but this one was one of our collared foxes who just passed away, just from old age. And so I will say this is one of my favorite animals to see in the winter time because their kind of bright red, orangey fur is so beautiful in contrast to the white snow. And they also have an incredible sense of hearing. And they can hear down to around 300 hertz. That's the equivalent of hearing a mouse squeak 7 feet under the snow, 200 feet away from you. And so that's why you'll see those awesome pictures of them just like jumping down into the snow to try and get their next snack or meal.
That's so fun to see. And this other pelt we have here is the wolverine. Just like the fox, the wolverine stays active all winter long, and it has these big feet to kind of help move it through the snow. I mean, they end up high in the mountains. I can't imagine making my way through the deep snow there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Erin, but I believe this wolverine died naturally and was found from an avalanche in Grand Teton National Park.
So this one passed away in 2002, and it was either collared or I think a ranger back then may have found it when they were doing some early season kind of snow conditions kind of outlook.
I've never seen one.
I've never seen one either, but that's the dream, is to be able to see a wolverine here.
They're pretty elusive.
And quite ferocious as well. Ooh, if we could have any winter adaptation, what would it be? That's an awesome question. Oh my gosh, there's so many different ones out there. I would say there's a few different ones that, come to mind. I would say one is that wolverines have an incredible sense of smell, and they can smell frozen dead animals up to 20 feet under the snow. And I think that would just be so fun just to romp around in our canyons even in the winter time and just be digging for things. But then we also have another rare species, our lynx here. They have these big paws that can help them kind of float on top of the snow. It's kind of like wearing snowshoes for humans. And I, love being able to possibly look out for lynx tracks because they're so big, and I can just imagine them bouncing around, having a good time playing in the snow.
I think, okay, my mind went two places. I would love to see what the mountains are like this time of year. I would love to get up high. And believe it or not, our bighorn sheep actually stay up in the mountains year round. So I would love to have those hooves of a bighorn sheep to move through the rocky terrain.
That'd be so cool.
And then I think camouflage would be pretty awesome. Our weasel camouflages, it changes from a white winter coat to kind of a brown coat in the summer. And to kind of hide in the environment and sneak up on things would be fun.
I'd say, of course, bears have one adaptation of hibernation. That one would be sometimes
Maybe
really
that
nice.
one is more for me. I do like sleep.
Ooh, how much snow is expected this weekend? And so I'm reading a few different forecasts right now. I've heard in the town of Jackson, they might get a foot or two, but then up high in the mountains, that could be around 6 feet of snow.
Which is like taller than me, taller than you.
And so that's a lot of snow. I was kind of reading into it. It looks like we might get around 8 or 9 inches tomorrow, probably around another 9 inches on Sunday, and then possibly 10 or 11 inches on Monday as well. And so that's kind of the latest forecast I read. But as we know, sometimes Mother Nature can be a little bit unpredictable. So we always have to, use a stick of truth moment to figure out how much snow we actually got. Awesome. So our last question of the day is, how did we make Snow Desk?
A lot of work. Many hands. Thankfully, we had help from our colleagues to kind of pile all of this snow up. And we started pouring water on it to kind of get it to settle and ice out before we started sawing it and carving its shape. Pretty fun. Anything to add, Erin?
Ooh, I would say, you guys can't see them, but we also actually make chairs that have like little armrest and like a little backrest as well. And if you are super interested, there's actually numerous YouTube like time lapses that we've posted over the past few years of us making, or at least piling all of the snow together for snow desks. So, you know, there's no like actual desk under here. You know, this isn't a white tablecloth. This is all made out of real snow found in this exact area. Oh, so sweet. But that was an awesome question to end with. If you do have any more questions, feel free to email grte_education@nps.gov. And we hope you have a fun and safe rest of your Friday and weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
See you guys later.